honestly, if you got time tomorrow, if I have time tomorrow, let's just do another one. Like there's loads of stuff to talk about, and I feel like a lot of people may not see this one because it's really late right now. Like it's almost midnight here for me, and I'm assuming it's about like 11 for you, right? So a lot of people may not be able to see a lot of the stuff we talk about, so we might as well just talk about it again tomorrow. Or if we figure out more things, we can talk about it. Or if we forgot something today, we can talk about it tomorrow. Yeah, for sure. Let me just put the headset thingy-majingy on so they can hear you. There we go.
Yeah, sure.
There we go. All right, now they should be able to hear you and me. And if they have any complaints, they can just tell me, and I can see if anything is wrong. Let's see. Let me see who's in the chat. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us know if we are live, if everything is working fine. Just let us know. And yeah, that would be awesome. So, yeah, guys, we have a little bit of a different setup, as you guys may notice, because I literally changed it in the span of, like, well, a day. So yeah, welcome to the stream, everyone. How y'all doing? Daniel, welcome to the stream. Red Lumos, welcome to the stream. Crybaby Abel, welcome to the stream. Brad, welcome to the stream. Diamond Mon, welcome to the stream. Wooly, who's it? Welcome to the stream. Dr. James, welcome to the stream. Sir Cariotis, welcome to the stream. Tom Harris, welcome to the stream. Shiny Jolteon, welcome to the stream. Player Up Slurpoff, welcome to the stream. Daniel Giles, welcome to the stream. And George Kazakos, welcome to the stream. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Black Crewmate, welcome to the stream. Brad Hamilton with the $2 donation. Yo, Brad, it's been a while, man. My name used to be Ruffles Dong. Yes, I remember you, mate. I will never forget you, Brad. It's kind of hard to forget you with that SpongeBob profile picture and very, very specific name. So, yo, Brad, thank you for the $2, man. I'll always remember you, dog. Don't worry about it. So, welcome to the stream. So, guys, we are joined by PokeShopper today. And some of you may remember PokeShopper. He's not been around for the last year, give or take. But man's back. Man's got some things to talk about. Man's got some things in the works that you guys may be interested in. Yeah, so how you doing, man?
Yeah, man. How are you? I'm very, very well.
Yeah, dude. I
Despite
mean, besides like
the
just having shitty internet, I for the most part, I'm good. I'm good. I'm feeling good. Like in all regards, I'm doing well.
My name used to be
Yo,
RUFFL.
Steelix56 by the way. Yo, welcome to stream, man. I saw your DM, bro. I'm not sure where I left the like where I have the map image to send you, bro. You can just look in the video. You should be able to see it there. But either way, so just gotta give a shout out to everybody who just joined us. Red Lumos, welcome. Wraith, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Angel, welcome. True Master EX, welcome. Munching Munchlax, welcome to the stream. BM Martin, welcome to the stream. Pokebo Fan, welcome to the stream. Jay, welcome to the stream. Pokecario, welcome to the stream. Shadow Riser, welcome to the stream. Jaffe97, welcome to the stream. Mr. Dr. Junior King Orange, welcome to the stream. ACM Games X, welcome to the stream. Brad, how you doing, dog? Welcome. Peyton Hull, welcome to the stream. Daniel, welcome to the stream. And Abel and Infinity95, welcome to the stream, guys. How y'all doing? But yeah, so what are we going to talk about? Is basically Diamond and Pearl, guys. Okay, so Diamond and Pearl, I know you guys have probably seen my videos about this. I don't know if you guys have seen this though, but I haven't covered this, and I don't know how I've missed covering it, which is really weird, by the way, Paul. Like, I don't know how I've missed it, but I didn't cover the thing you posted about, like, Cynthia. I actually never got down to that. I don't know how I missed it or how I didn't cover it, but, like, can you kind of explain more about what that's all about? Because just so they can understand, because like you probably will have a better way to explain it to all of them.
Okay, so basically, I don't know whether you saw earlier this year, but Dawn and Piplup from the same series by a manufacturing company called Kotobukiya, they released Dawn and Piplup, and a lot of people got excited about that. But the unusual one was the announcement of Cynthia and Garchomp, which will release next year. And it was stipulated in the official tweet that it's to commemorate the 15th year of the Diamond and Pearl Pokemon launch. So it kind of made a lot of people curious because of the way it was worded. And I do think it's a bit uncanny that they're kind of putting things in the pipeline, let's say. And there were a few kind of hints this year. And Crown Tundra is obviously a pivotal part of why I think that Diamond and Pearl will probably come next year. The way it's going. So it's just a generalized figurine release. But we had the same thing with Gary and Eevee back in 2018.
Exactly.
And that was actually announced on the day that Let's Go was actually announced. And 2 weeks prior to that, I remember posting it and saying, well, it's a bit coincidental because there was a lot of speculation that Let's Go was going to be a thing. And a lot of people were in denial about that and kind of tried to shut me down over it. And then lo
Same
and
here,
behold,
brother.
we got
Same
we
here.
got Let's Go announced 2 weeks later on the same day that Gary and Evie released.
Yep.
And the official company say that they like to release these massive figures. They're like $100 figures. They're like
I know
they're really
it's kinda
beautiful
dumb,
figures.
but I 100%
They like to
want the
commemorate them
remakes
around
called
special
Diamond Dust
events.
and Pea
And I
Powder.
just think that Cynthia and Garchomp, Cynthia's kind of like the Pokemon champion, probably the most popular champion.
We just got a $50 dono, by the way. Weird timing. Yo, what the hell? Okay.
No.
Let me just get some. Okay. Wow. Sorry for interrupting you, dog. I'm so sorry.
No, it's
but
good,
that
man.
just caught me off guard. Like, I just saw that. I was like, what the hell? So, first of all, Cole with the $50 dono. Thank you so much, dude. I really, oh my god, thank you. Yo, Ruff, what up? I'm loving the background in your room, bro. How's it going, my man? It's going great, my dude. It's actually going really good. I'm just hoping the internet doesn't go out. That's the only thing I'm worried about, to be honest. But, bro, thank you for the $50 donation, bro. Thank you so much, man. And also, Pad Paradsha, thank you so much for the $5. I know it's kind of dumb, but I 100% want the remakes to be called Diamond Dust and Pea Powder. It's kind of weird names. Pearl Powder. Sorry, not Pea Powder. I think you just kind of like messed up the typing there in like the donation message. But I see what you mean though. Diamond Dust and Pearl Powder. I can see those being pretty cool names. I don't really know though. But yo, Pat, thank you so much for the $5. And I mean Cole with the $50 out of nowhere. I don't know why you dropped that out of nowhere, bro. But thank you. That was just insane. Thank you so much. I'm gonna just get some water. But go on with where you were, because you were talking about like the merch in particular here and how they do that, and I want to add something to that, by the way. I don't know if you follow what's his name again, Sugimori on Twitter, by the way, but he tweeted something really interesting in regards to Dawn, by the way. So he had this picture of Gigantamax Pikachu, right, with like a Dynamax cloud above it, like it was like a toy, yeah, and then he had an image with Dawn in the background with a Dynamax cloud above her, and in front of her, like a small version of Gloria from like the Galar region, which is the female, like, for those out there who don't know, it's like the female protagonist basically, which was really, really strange to me. I was like, this seems a little on the nose. This is really, really on the nose. So what do you think about that, man?
Yeah, I think with that, it's kind of dangerous territory, because normally sometimes you can like look into too many different things, especially when it comes to Twitter and the official users from Game Freak. But they have had a history of dropping hints, insinuating things, like we saw with Masuda with Let's Go, and of course with Sword and Shield.
Yep.
And a lot of kind of references that they like to make, Sun and Moon as well, if you go back. So it's not preposterous to kind of suggest it, but there are a number of things in line with this. I mean, they've kind of been building with Diamond and Pearl, or Generation 4 merchandise, the last year, and I'm already seeing things for 2021, and again, like, providing everything goes well next year, I definitely believe that those remakes are probably in line for the 15th year since they were originally released in Japan.
Yeah, the 15th anniversary just makes, like, it also just all kind of lines up perfectly. Like, it just like perfectly lines up.
Yeah, because it's the 25th year for Pokemon.
Yeah,
so it's the 25th anniversary with that.
And the 15th anniversary for Diamond and Pearl as well. So it's like the perfect kind of lineup as well. Did you, by the way, see the TCG leak, by the way? I don't know if you saw that. But there was a TCG leak of like a Chimchar card, right? And yeah, and at the bottom it said, like, I'm not sure which number it was out of 25, but like 25, remove one number from that, that's 24. That's literally the amount of like starters we have across the board, right? Including like Generation 8. But the final one, the 25th one, could just be Pikachu, right? Because technically it is a starter as well. So, like, they're clearly gearing up for all that. They're clearly gearing up like crazy for the 25th anniversary, if they're doing like that whole like set there just for those. So I feel like everything is kind of pointing towards like next year being pretty huge for them as well. And I think with it being the 15th anniversary, also by the way, let's remember that it's perfectly also lined up with like the sort of like if you look back at like since like Generation 6, right? There's been like this kind of perfect lineup of how many years there are between each like remake and new gen and all that sort of stuff. And it's perfectly lined up now. If you look at all that stuff, you go back and look at all those things, it all perfectly lines up now for this to be the case, for this to be the time for that, like this next year to be the remake year. Because what else is really possible? If we take like Diamond and Pearl out of the equation, what else is really possible, to be fairly honest? I mean, is it going to be an empty year? Unlikely. I think the Pokemon Company, Game Freak, and Nintendo probably want to put out something really big alongside the celebration of their 25th anniversary. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to be doing that. So, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, what would you say about that?
Well, I think as it stands at the moment, I mean, we're all enjoying Crown Tundra, and that's very much going to be the focus for the remainder of the year. But then, in less than 3 months, well, in 3 months' time, we're going to have the 25th anniversary of Pokemon. It'll be a huge occasion. There'll be merchandise. There'll be all sorts of in-game events, I would imagine. And then we might get a preemptive announcement of there's a game coming in the process, and I'm not saying Generation 9, of course, that would be silly.
Yeah.
But in terms of future game launches, I wouldn't be surprised if like we got maybe like an announcement of an announcement, if that makes sense. Like they tend to kind of like building up expectation now for these kind of things across all their media. So it wouldn't be out of focus to kind of think. Well, I would definitely live stream on Pokemon Day.
Oh, well, dude, I mean, we're doing that. We're doing that. Like,
well,
we're doing that, bro. Like, we did that. You will always be remembered, like, for being there with me in that moment, bro. When my shirt went into pieces. Like that will be one of the most legendary moments of my career. Is when that it was just the announcement of an announcement. You know what I mean? And my shirt went like just into pieces.
The thing is that so many people were like, nothing's going to happen.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, it's always in hindsight. I mean, I remember at the time people were asking me, they're going, like, there's no way that something's going to drop. And I said, wait until the last minute. And it dropped at 2 p.m. like my time. And it was like, the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah.
But,
yep. For sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened again for this Pokemon Day. And I just think that, like you say, all the dates correlate. It's like perfect timing. And it's a wonderful business opportunity for them to kind of expand their brand again.
Yeah. I mean, like, and again, like what I was saying kind of earlier about like, what else could really be the option? People in chat were saying, like, what about Gen 9? Well, Gen 9 makes way more sense for 2022. Because if you actually think about it, 2022 is the perfect, like, it's been exactly 3 years, right, since Generation 8 released, which is about the time they take between each generation, right? So, 2019, Gen 8. 2020... that's the second year. That was the DLC. Then 2021, that's the third year. That's the remakes of this generation, right? Diamond and Pearl. Then 2022, the start of a brand new generation. It just makes sense, right? Unless they take a year off, which I think is unlikely, personally. I mean, again, who really knows what they're doing in the background and what they're planning? But anything is possible. That's what I'm trying to say. Anything is really possible. But let's be fair. The most logical thing that could be happening outside of Diamond and Pearl would only really be Let's Go Johto. But then there's a lot of issues there with people arguing that, like, well, for one, they did kind of, like, Masuda did say that they didn't really have any plans for making any more Let's Go games, but then you could kind of argue against that by saying, well, they do say a lot of things, but then go back on those things, So you never really know.
Well, he's kind of reserved about that. I mean, he declined to comment the last time he was publicly asked that. So
yeah, see, I wasn't aware of that because I remember the first time they asked him about it, he just said like, we don't really like I remember like the posts on websites were saying like that he basically was saying like they didn't really have any plans for it. Nothing was like currently in the plans. And again, like then again, you can't really take anything they say and like go with it because they're not going to tell you that they're working on something. That's the thing that people don't always comprehend, is like, even if they are working on something and they may just say, oh, nothing is in the pipeline, they may literally be working on it at that exact moment, but they just won't tell you, because why would they? I mean, that would just, get in the way of their promotional plans and all that sort of stuff, because they have all that stuff. They plan that stuff out, right? They want to make big reveals and make a big deal out of it. Like, that's the whole thing, right? Like, hyping people up. That's like why conventions like the E3 even exist, right? Is to hype people up. Because in reality, if you want to just get information out as fast as possible, you can just make a simple tweet and just there you go, there's your announcement. But no, they don't do that. They make a big deal out of it. They call it Pokemon Presents, and they have a Pokemon Day and all these crazy things just to hype people up and make them more excited for these things being revealed.
You've got to remember as well, Ruffled, that it will be easier for them to make a remake because they've already got the structure of the games, because they've got the region, they've got the champion, they've got the gym leaders, unless they want to change.
Yeah, this is the exact thing I've said as well. Like, I've seen loads of people say like, oh, Diamond Pro remake's not happening. You're just gonna be, you're gonna be like totally wrong about it. And I'm just like, well, think about it. Why wouldn't they be doing it? Like, it's not like it requires a lot of effort. And people are like, oh, this is going to be a bad game, and I hope they don't do it. I'm just like, well, I personally want it. And also, it's way simpler, because all they have to do is just create some missing assets, right? And that's it. Yeah. Right? Like, that's all they need to do. Because the story is already made. They don't need to create a bunch of brand new Pokemon. That's not needed, because, they're already done. They have the same models they can reuse. Same animation. Same everything can be reused. Items can be reused. The storyline is already done. Every plot line, all that stuff. Like, literally, like, without them doing any work, they have about 50% of the game pretty much completed already. You know what I mean? They just gotta do the other 50%, and there you go. The game is already made, and it's easy profit, because people will buy it. Like, it's guaranteed. Like, just take all the Gen 4 fans. They will buy it to begin with, right? But on top of that, you also have like other people that may never have actually played Generation 4 that will go and buy it just to see what it was like.
Yeah, I think a number of things. That they do have the nostalgia factor, because the game's coming up to 15 years old, but they will incorporate new things, like how we had the Delta episode in Oras. They will kind of modernize the Sinnoh region, which they have to do. They have to it can't be just a flat remake. It has to be different in some way.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure
they have said. They have said, though, that they wanted to bring Megas back in the future, and a lot of people have argued, like, oh, what if they bring it back in the Diamond and Pro remakes? Now, I've said most likely unlikely to happen, because it feels like they've kind of just thrown Megas under the bus and just not cared about them. Also, Play Rough, thank you so much for the $2. Is it possible to just have a collection game? See, yeah, we're going to bring this up, because this is something, I don't know if you heard about this, by the way, but it's become, like, a really popular, like, ID and popular rumor within the community in recent times. But just want to kind of get back to the previous thing I was saying. But like, people have been just saying like, Megas might be returning, but in reality, I think it's unlikely. I think what they will just probably do is introduce Dynamaxing as well, but just add in some new features and ways of using it. And I don't know how they could really make it a more interesting game without it being just too flat. And like just being a flat remake. Like, what could they really do? I guess like a Delta episode type of deal, right? And maybe like some new features, like how we had the Dex Nav in Oras, right, and stuff like that, and like the soaring and all that, right, with the Latios. I guess that's like the sort of stuff they could add in to just kind of spice the game up, right?
Yeah. Well, you've seen it with the Crown Tundra DLC, which seems like, I mean, the whole DLC package. I mean, we mentioned this before we went on to stream it. I felt that Crown Tundra was far superior. Compared to the first DLC. So, I think that they will learn. The more that they work on the Switch and the more that they implement with Sword and Shield, they will definitely learn and draw what to take and what to drop for the new games. I mean, speculation's heavy with things like will Megas return? I really don't think so, because I think that Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing is such a big thing for them that they'll probably incorporate it into Sinnoh somehow. I don't know how, but that's what I would imagine. That I haven't seen anything like merchandise-wise to kind of back up any kind of claim, but it's just a gut feeling that I have. I think that they won't dwell too much on the past they'll probably want to stick to the current format for VGC and TCG purposes.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like, they're just going to remain with Dynamaxing, so don't expect Megas to return, guys. And now I want to know what you think about this whole, collection game rumor, like there being a Pokemon collection next year. And the reason I think, by the way, this is actually cropped up the most is because of the Pokemon, the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection, right? So they started cropping up a bunch of rumors, and a lot of people just really got attached to that idea, right? The concept of there being a Pokemon collection. So I kind of want to hear what you think about that, like what do you think about the idea of there being a Pokemon collection sort of deal? Like, do you think it's possible or unlikely? And also, Psychot Freak, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Welcome. But what do you think about that? What do you think about the idea of there being a collection? Do you think that's highly impossible in your mind? Because I'm personally more on the impossible side.
I think improbable is more likely.
Yeah,
I think
there you go.
I don't know, because I don't know. It's impossible to say. It really is, because although it might seem like a wild thing to kind of put on the table, people said that about a Pokemon Yellow remake.
That's fair. Switch, that's fair.
With no regular capture mechanics, which I know Masuda-san got absolutely hounded for. Not just by the Pokemon community, but also the Pokemon company themselves. There was a lot of resistance to Masuda's decision there. I don't know whether they'd with game releases, you've got to think of risk versus reward, especially with like a loyal fan base like Pokemon's got, and that there's always risk involved. I think they'll be a bit more safer next time, because they took a lot of risks with Sword and Shield.
What do you mean?
I.e., with the Dex cut and the resistance that was there from the community, and a lot of people voiced their anger at a number of things. It's not just the national Dex. It's a whole wave of other criticisms, which were fair criticisms.
Yeah.
They might not have been vocalized right, but I think that there was a lot of fair criticism. Sword and Shield aren't perfect games, but they're really, really strong games, I think, in the canon of Pokemon.
By the way, Psychot Freak, thank you for the $16 donation. Thank you so much, Psychot. Literally just saying the word, not the word, but literally the letter H. Yo, Psychot, thank you so much. Welcome back. It's been a while since you've been in the stream. Thanks for joining us once again. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us, Psychot. Thank you for the $15 donation. 16 actually, I'm not really sure. But thank you so much, Psychot. Thank you. But yeah, so the reason I think it's unlikely to happen, by the way, if I'm gonna be honest, I think it's just because it would just devalue, the games in a sense, right? Because, if they were to, release it as a bundle, right? They did do it with, Mario. But I feel like with Pokemon is, sure, Mario's huge and all that and whatever, but, Pokemon is still, in my mind, almost bigger in a sense, right? Because it's just a bigger juggernaut in terms of, I don't know, it's just like outside the video games, right? Just outside the video game sphere. They're just huge in all other areas. I mean, Pokemon, the TCG side of Pokemon, I mean, I don't even want to imagine how much money they're making from that every year. I mean, it's got to be ludicrous amounts. Because, the amount of people I see opening packs, especially in recent time as well, this year has been huge for, the TCG sales. I've just seen, literally just, I don't know, just insanity when it comes to that. I'm just thinking, why would they, release a collection that would sort of, devalue those games where, the only reason I would see them doing that is because there's no way to get them anymore, right? Though there is a way to still get, red, blue, gold, silver with the virtual console, right, for the 3DS. You can still get those, technically. But there's no way to get Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5. There's no way to get those on anything newer than a DS. And those are also getting harder and harder to buy each day. Every day, those games are getting really, really, really more difficult to actually get your hands on. So, it's just, it's like, is it really, are they, I guess that's the only thing that could kind of make me believe they would want to do a collection. But we have seen crazy things happen. I mean, I never really believed back in the day, I would have never thought that they would make a Let's Go Johto game. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee game. I never would have believed that would be a possibility, But it happened. It somehow happened. And it is what it is. But also, oh my god. Yo, Sky Pokey Ed with a £10 donation. Oh my god, you guys. Thank you so much. Holy crap, guys. Thank you. Seriously, thank you so much. God damn, guys, thank you. Saying, yo, what you want to see before you die? Me, I want to see who will win in a fight. Drunk Scottish guy, I guess, and a drunk Russian or a drunk Irish guy. Well, mate, I don't know if that's what I would want to see before I die, but I wouldn't mind just seeing that in general, though. I mean, that'd be pretty funny. I mean, it's a random point to make, but I appreciate the £10, mate. Thank you so much. Yo, Sky Pokey and dude, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it, dog. Thank you for the support. And thank you for the really random comment. I appreciate it, dog. Thank you. Oh, my
what
God.
You want to see before you
Yo,
die,
again, guys,
me,
thank
I
you so
want
much for the
to see
support. I
who
really
win
appreciate
if I
that. Thank
drunk
you.
Scotland drunk.
Bringing Megas back in
Irish.
beta/full game. Couldn't word this out right. Oh, yeah, did you, by the way, see, Paul, did you, by the way, see the Gen 8 beta leaks?
Yes.
Yeah, what did you think about that? What were your thoughts on that?
Well, it's hard for me to kind of discuss these things because, like, it's difficult because people always ask me about opinions for leaked like beta stuff, and I like try and.
I mean, if you don't want to say, it's totally understandable. You don't have to worry about it. Like, literally, just tell me if you're not comfortable with it. Like, there's no problem whatsoever. I fully understand.
Yeah,
you know?
it's fine. It's like I don't want people like high up seeing like me talk about it, and I think it's understandable.
No, I fully get it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Yo, it's cool though. It's cool when stuff like that happens. But like obviously, as we saw with like the Gen 8 leaks themselves, anyway, if you talk about.
Oh yeah, it's dangerous. I know
Yeah.
it's dangerous. Like I got to see that firsthand. I got to see that firsthand. Also, Cole, thank you for the $5 dono. Yo, I just sent you a pic of my truck. Just got my company logo put on professionally. Finally, tell me what you think. Show chat if you want, lol. Dude, I'll check that out probably after stream because I'm going to tell you right now. I have like 600 tabs open. And I'm afraid to open any further at this point because I think it may kill my PC, honestly, at this point.
Chat if you want.
I genuinely think it might be killing my computer at this point. But I'll check it out after stream, man, and I'll let you know what I think about it. I'll literally hit you up on Facebook about it, mate. But thank you for the $5, man. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Also, thank you for the $50, dude. You're freaking insane, Cole. Thank you for the support, man. Thank you, brother. But I fully understand you, though, Paul. I fully get it, man. Like, I get it in your position not wanting to talk about that stuff, and I've seen firsthand what can happen when you cover these sort of things. What I was so annoyed about, though, was that I was the only one hit with that, you know what I mean? That nobody else got into trouble. I was the only one. That's the thing that annoyed me about that, because nobody else, like, got hit. By the way, Quinn, thank you for subbing. But, yeah, like, nobody else got hit, and I was just, like, kind of sitting there, like, really? Why am I the only one? Like, why has nobody else been hit? Like, why am I the only one being, like, in trouble for this? Even though, you know, I covered it a bunch, but there was literally channels that got, like, 10 times my views that covered it as well, you know?
Yeah, you can't help but feel that sometimes if your face doesn't fit. I mean, I've been under, like, scrutiny in the past for posting things that I probably shouldn't have posted. But you've just got to kind of bide your time with it and wait. Sometimes it is better to post second as opposed to being first, and that's something that I've learned from experience as well. I'd much rather be seen as reliable and, you know, consistent as opposed to, you know, posting stuff out first and then getting in trouble. And I know, like, the multiple news accounts on Twitter have been hit with things before, so you're not alone. It's just that they're much stricter now than I think they have been in the past.
But it's kind of odd that they are, though. It's kind of odd. It's kind of strange to me.
Well,
because
not really. You've got to think social media is massive now. It's huge.
Yeah.
And what we do and what we say on social media, it can be enhanced or twisted in a particular way. And you could mean really well. And it only takes some douchebag to kind of say, oh, well, I don't like what that person's doing. And then all of a sudden, you know, you're under the cosh for it. You're getting burned for it. So
that's true. I think what I'm kind of more or less feeling is that just that kind of like that. I feel like with leaks, at least for other games, leaks tend to just be kind of a good thing for the companies. Usually, like in terms of just getting excitement out of it. You know what I mean? Like there's literally companies that will leak their own stuff intentionally, like Ubisoft. Ubisoft's literally been like, you know, they've been caught for actually leaking their own stuff. and they do that to just arise excitement in people. I remember like when the new like Assassin's Creed was like before it was even announced, it was leaked and stuff like, oh, it's gonna be a Viking one, and all that. And people were like, nah, it's not real, whatever. And then it turned out to be real, and people were like, oh shit. And then it came out like it could have just been Ubisoft actually leaking that themselves because they've done it before. So, and it kind of creates excitement, right? It creates excitement and hype. But with Pokemon, I think the difference is that they aren't themselves leaking it. Hence why they're pissed off about it. I think that's a difference there. But I mean, I feel like
it depends on the company.
Yeah.
In this case, the example that you're using, Pokemon take it very seriously because you've got to remember that the excitement of seeing a Pokemon for the first time in game, it's been quite a while since we've had that. And when the full dex gets leaked beforehand, they take it personally when they've kept it secret for so many years, and then all of a sudden somebody gets out on the internet. You can imagine that. If you
I can understand. I can understand 100%. 100%. I can understand. Like that's where I can see how they would why they feel that way though. Like I can get that. It's just I'm still just surprised that I was the only one hit. Like that's the thing that just annoys me about it. Like I think that's where I get a little bit of frustration is because I was the only one who got in trouble for it, whereas nobody else did. Which is like I think the only thing that got me feeling like, well, this is just BS. I think that's why I feel the way I do and why I have like a little bit of a kind of a certain way of looking at it and a certain way of feeling about it because, well, I was the one who got in trouble with it. So I'm kind of like just a little bit, annoyed about Game Freak for, not being chill with me about it. Because again, I was one of many people because, A-Drive, Austin John Plays, all these like channels that, well, had way more, viewership on that than I did. Didn't get in any trouble for it, which was really surprising to me. But also I think it's because I'm less of a marketable face, I'm much more of a black sheep within the community, so to say. I'm very much an outlier, if you want to put it that way. Like I'm not like very brand friendly, I guess you could say, because I have a very polarizing channel, and the sort of stuff I cover is very polarizing as well. As I will cover leaks and I will be blunt about it, and if I'm pissed off about something, I will say it. Where I won't be there just kind of like kind of dilly daddling about like the issues and all that. If I feel a certain way, I simply just say it. So I think maybe it was just easier to push me down, because, well, I'm much more of an annoyance than they are. So they just kind of went for me, I think in that sense.
Possibly, but you've got to do what you've got to do at the end of the day. You've got your niche and, your opinions are going to be a bit on the fence with certain things that maybe the official company won't agree with, but you're entitled to your opinion. It's your channel at the end of the day. And but when you violate things,
I
it's the same with websites. It's exactly the same. Like if I put something on my website, it's like the consequences are severe, and you've got to be aware of what you're doing, and you learn that from experience. So.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, again, like I understand it. I mean, now I understand it more and more. Like I'm not as like I was a bit worried about posting about these like beta leaks, but the only reason I'm kind of not as worried is because it's already released. Like the game's already out. There's like nothing else they can really expect further from the Sword and Shield games that they would complain about the betas being out. I feel like what I mean, because there were betas out for like Gen 4 as well, Gen 2, Gen 1. Like it's just. Like there's nothing there that makes me think like, oh, they would be pissed off for us covering this and go after the content creators. So I've been less worried about that, even though it did bring me a little bit worried when I was posting the videos, because I just felt like, oh god, I do not want to deal with Nintendo right now. Like I do not need to deal with their like legal department coming after my ass. Like I just don't need that in my life. But you never know. You never know. I may even delete those videos like just sometime in the next like weeks or two. Like there's still some people watching it, so I want them to still be able to see the information and all that. But I may just get rid of them just for safety reasons, because you never really know. You never really know with this sort of stuff. But I just feel like since it's so old that they should be okay with it. Like it's just beta stuff that doesn't really matter. It doesn't have like it's not like it contains anything that's gonna like jeopardize their like development or whatever in terms of like what the next thing's coming, or getting in the way of their next like generation or any of that. I feel like it just doesn't interrupt any of that their important stuff, so it shouldn't really matter to them.
No, well, it depends on the content, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can drive yourself mad because you can overanalyze things sometimes. And in the past, I've just posted stuff and nobody's ever said anything. So I basically do what I can kind of get away with. And yeah, you understand what you can do and what you can't do through experience. Yeah. But like, kind of going back to before, I honestly do think that next year is a really, really good chance that we'll see a new game, and it wouldn't be Generation 9. We can safely rule that out.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, I mean, so to kind of explain to everybody who doesn't know, by the way, I'm literally right now actually in the Crown Tundra, where one of the like events, which is like right over there in front of me, actually one of the events that does hint towards Gen 4 is. So I think you've seen all of them as well, by the way, right? Like I think you've seen all of them covered, or at least you know about all of them as well, right, Paul? Like the ones that are in the Crown Tundra. Like all the little hints and stuff that, like, at least seemingly hints, but they tend to leave them like this in the game for a reason. So I thought we just kind of like I would just go through and explain them all for like the viewers who haven't watched. So number one, number one is the most obvious one, right? The Spirit Tomb Factor, right? So Spirit Tomb Factor was a event, you could say, I guess, back in Diamond and Pearl. Where you needed the odd keystone, and then you took it to Route 209, I think, and then there's like this kind of like well, almost there's this like kind of like just, I don't know, like weird ass well, and you just put the old keystone in there, and then it will just kind of require you to go into the wireless mode of the Crown Tundra, or sorry, not the Crown Tundra, of Diamond and Pearl, and then interact with 32 people precisely, and once you've done that, you then go back to this like weird, like, I don't know, like well, and you interact with it, and then Spirit Tomb will spawn. Well, guess what? Crown Tundra has that exact same event, minus it being a well and instead being a grave, and you're doing the same thing, except it's not through wireless, it's actually through like it's through the wild area, and you interact with characters there. And also, oh my god, Solar with the $20 donation! Yo! Oh my god, thank you. I was about to get to what you just wrote in your comment, in your donation, is exactly what I was going to get to after this.
The Reggie temples in SWS
copies from Platinum, the dialogue, puzzles, even the battle start animation is exactly the same. It's different in every game they appear, so why copy Platinum perfectly?
The same.
Yes, that's the Reggie factor. That's the Reggie factor from Platinum.
Why copy Platinum perfectly?
Yes, sir.
I think the surprising element to the new DLC is that the new Reggie's being introduced, which technically mid-generation. I was kind of baffled by that. I do think that Regidrago and Regieleki are god-tier designs.
They're really cool. They're really freaking cool. Yeah, I was surprised really though as well awesome. By their inclusion. Like it was a little bit like out of the blue, by the way, to be honest. Like it was really surprising. Yeah, easily. But definitely awesome though in terms of design. Also, again, Solar. I just want to, dude, like seriously, thank you so much. Like honestly, all you guys, just across the board, guys, thank you for the support. You guys are nuts with the donations tonight, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Honestly, guys, thank you for the support. It really, truly helps me out. Right now, your boy has to buy a car for the first time in his life, and I don't know what the fuck I'm going to get, but it's going to cost a lot of money, and I need to, like, save up every penny, so all the support comes through, and it's going to help me out just getting that fucking done. So thank you so much. I really fucking love you guys. Thank you for the support. Thank you. And back to what we were saying. Right, so what he just mentioned in his donation actually was the second thing I was going to mention, which is the Reggie Factor, which is also a Gen 4 event, by the way. It's also from Platinum in particular, and that's where you go and get the Reggies. And yes, everything about these events in Crown Tundra and Platinum are identical, by the way. Like the way you enter when you get inside the caves, the floor patterns are the same, right? The animations are the same. All that stuff is the same. It is really, really strange. And what were you saying, by the way, Paul, about like because you were mentioning the new ones, Regieleki and Regidrago, which by the way look fucking amazing. And by the way, Regieleki's broken, like hands down broken Pokemon.
Yeah, in VGC format, yeah, definitely. Its speed is insane. But no, I just found it very strange for them to kind of incorporate two new Reggies during Generation 8. And that there were a number of things that, I mean, you say that they're subtle hints. So I think they're quite blatant attempts at referencing the Sinnoh region,
I
which
mean,
is very
I
similar to.
guess you could say they're blatant. I guess you could argue that that's what they are, because they kind of are, in
I
all
think so.
fairness. Yeah, they
I
really
think
are.
so.
I think it's just like the reason I say they're hints more than like just, they're kind of hidden is more just because I feel like a lot of people still won't accept the idea of there being a remake next year. There's like still a lot of people who kind of go with that, so I try to like kind of refer to it as a more of a, like a possibility rather than an obsolete.
Yeah, of course. But I just find it weird that people are still denying the idea of Pokemon remakes being a thing when we literally just had a Pokemon Yellow remake, and it's obvious that they will remake Diamond and Pearl. It's just the speculation is as of when it will actually come, whether it be next year or the year after. And like you say, with 2022, we're more likely to actually get a new generation then.
Yep.
So it would be a logical business decision for them to actually release a remake next year, because they've already got the champion, they've already got the region, they've already got the backbone to the actual region itself. And it would require technical work, of course, but the structure of the games are already, and the Sinnoh region is a great region, Platinum, and the whole of Generation 4, including Heart Gold and Soul Silver, were amazing. So they know that they need to get it right, and they will get it right. Though, I really have faith that they will be amazing games from the DS versions. I think that because the DS versions are so kind of dated now because of the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
But I've got a lot of faith in what Game Freak can kind of deliver. I think the DLC for this generation really lifted the games. I did like Sword and Shield upon original release, and the first DLC kind of didn't blow me away. Whereas this new DLC with Crown of Tundra, it's really good. It's really, really solid, and I really enjoyed it. So I have high hopes for the Gen 4 remakes, definitely.
Yeah, so first of all, also, Cublitz said, so we're chilling in Gen 8 only 2 years? No, we're not. No, we're not. It's 3 years. Because, do the math, right? 2019 was the first year, technically, because that's when it came out. Then 2020,
Yeah, we've
the
already
DLC,
been in.
yeah, we've already been in a year, right? Technically, because that's when the game came out. That was the first year. Then 2020, this year, was a DLC. Next year is the third year, right? That is the release of Diamond and Pearl, most likely, remakes. And then 2022, new generation. So 3 years later, right, because it is 3 years later technically, the next generation would start. Which, guess what? It is the perfect timing. It makes sense as well. It all lines up. And also, somebody was saying, how would they implement Dynamaxing in Sinnoh remakes when they established that Dynamaxing is only possible in Galar and only in areas with power spots? Well, here's the thing. There is something called, what's it called again? Retconning. Yes, there is that. They can literally retcon that and just make up some bullshit about, these power spots have also cropped up in the in the Sinnoh region because of some powerful energies or some BS. They can literally make stuff up at this point. And also, they can just say like, oh, this is in a different timeline. This is in a different timeline where Dynamaxing is all over the place. Like there's nothing to stop them from just making up some BS to make it like an available thing. Like they literally say anything and just make it work. So that will not stop them. Just because they say something doesn't mean that's gonna hold true forever.
No. Yeah,
So, yeah.
they write the rules. They write the rules. We just follow them.
So, Jab, thank you for the $2, by the way. What up, Habibi? New room setup looking sick. Thank you. Still not fully finished. I still need to get like which it's kind of fun, by the way, because we got PokeShopper right here. But I literally need to buy myself a bunch of merch and have like a giant shelf over there and stuff. Because I want to get a giant shelf with like just a bunch of Pokemon merch. But the problem is, I cannot buy Pokemon merch anywhere here. I should really get a P.O. box here, though, somehow. I should see if I can get a P.O. box here. You guys should just send me random crap. Literally, just find random Pokemon stuff you don't need anymore. Just send it my way. Because I'll probably just want to like put it like on a just like fucking giant like setup over there. But yeah, so what was I saying though? Right. I lost track. Oh yeah, no, right. So, again, they can just retcon all that. Like, they don't need to follow something, because again, you know, what Paul just said, they write the rules. They make the choices. They can literally say like, oh, Pikachu, actually Pikachu, there's you know, they can literally just say, oh, Pikachu's not actually yellow. You just imagine that your whole life. Pikachu's actually green. Fuck you. I mean, they can do that. You know, it doesn't make any sense, but they can do that if they want to. You know.
Well, okay, let's use a good example of this. So they've just recolored the shinies for Combusken, haven't
Oh
they?
yeah,
So,
yeah, and Gengar I think as well, somewhat.
yeah. So just random things like that nobody's really talked about, but Game Freak do these random things sometimes where you might look at it and think, well, that's a bit strange. But on the surface of it, it's one of those things that it's barely noticeable, but there will be appreciation from it from like a section of the community. But like I say, that hardly anybody's really talked about it on social media, that, to my knowledge anyway. So, but it's a very strange thing.
Yeah.
And Pokemon always rewrite things and change things. And you look at Jinx's design as one example. It's probably a strong example because of the background that's involved with that. But I think with Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire coming out in 2014, I think that's a key indicator as well, because it'll be 7 years next year, and that's quite a large amount of time. I know that you can only go from like Yellow, which was 2 years ago with Let's Go games, but I really don't count that in my mind because the capture mechanics, it wasn't really the essence of Pokemon Yellow.
I actually think I kind of got a bit of an idea of what they probably will do though. I think I got a kind of a perfect like idea of what they're gonna go down with in terms of like what they're gonna release. But before I say that, I just want to point out something Swish mentioned, which is the light behind you looks like a den light. Which yeah, actually if you look at it, there's a den right below me on my camera right now in the game, and there's like this light that's literally purple. So it literally looks like a den light. So this is just weird and random. And also somebody asked, Steelix asked, can you ask Paul what he was gonna say about the Reggies? What were you gonna say about them? Because like, actually, wait, before I forget about what I was going to say, though, which is, honestly, think about this, though, Paul. They made the Let's Go games, right? Like, and there was the whole, you know, their whole, like, they were kind of separate remake thing, right? They take even less effort than the normal remakes, right?
One sec.
Yep, all good? What's up? Oh, I think Paul needs to do something. Actually, perfect timing. I might just go get myself some water, guys, so give me a sec. I just got to get something to drink, because I am insanely, like, in need of water right now, so BRB for 1 second. Upsy daisy, I got a giant, a barrel of water. Let's go.
Yo, sorry.
Yo, it's all good, man. I just actually just went and got myself some water to drink because, man, I'm thirsty.
We've got there's loads to talk about. That's the thing, and I suppose it's difficult because there's loads to digest in the time that we've got. But you're on about doing a stream tomorrow as well, which, if you've got the time.
All right, sorry, I'm literally just pouring out water right now.
Don't worry about it.
Like I don't have any proper way of getting water, so I have to literally buy these giant canisters of water to like consume. It's just kind of a scuffed way of doing things, but it is what it is, you know. So what I was gonna say is actually this, right? So think about like the think about now the kind of remakes we have, right? So we have two different style of remakes in existence right now. We have the Let's Go style remakes, right, which have been established now, and we have the normal remakes. Now, in reality, wouldn't it make a lot of sense if they were to do, because we just had Gen 7, right, which introduced it, because Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee are Gen 7 games, by the way, which people will deny that, but it's the truth. They're Gen 7 games. They're not Gen 8 games. They're not. They're Gen 7 games. So what if this is what they're going to do going forward, by the way, Paul? And let me know what you think about this, right? So 2021, Diamond Pro remakes. 2022, Gen 9. And then in 2023, Let's Go Johto. And then, or maybe like before that, maybe like, I don't know, a third version or DLC for Generation 9. And then Let's Go Johto. wouldn't like it make a lot of sense for them to have that sort of cycle now, where like every generation has a remake, but it's not going to be always like it's the remake's going to like be kind of like normal remake, let's go remake, normal remake, let's go remake. Would that make how does that sound to you?
I think that makes sense. I think that's probably the most logical explanation or theory that I've had for the next 2-3 years. Definitely, I could back that up because I think why it's important that Diamond and Pearl will come first prior to a Let's Go game is because of the gap in time. So, like as I mentioned with Aurus, it'll be 7 years next year.
Yeah,
if a Diamond and Pearl remake comes out, whereas with Let's Go it'd only be 2. So, and you've made a very good point there with there being 2 separate series. So you've got like it's a mainline game, but you've got Let's Go with the capture mechanics and other factors. It's a different style of Pokemon, isn't it? It's more like Pokemon Go. It's much more influenced by that audience and trying to incorporate that audience into handheld consoles such as Nintendo Switch and trying to appeal to that audience. Because you've got to remember that the Pokemon audience is huge and it's very diverse.
Yeah, definitely.
So, for example, I'm just one area of the Pokemon community. I only represent one area of it. It's huge. You've got VGC, TCG, many other.
I mean, there are people that just buy the TCG and don't even interact with any of the other like parts of Pokemon. There are people who just watch the anime. There are people who just play the video games. There are people who just Wi-Fi battle or just Shiny Hunt.
Yeah.
Like it's not like Pokemon is just this one thing. It's this one thing that's covered by a very huge umbrella. There's a lot of things underneath it. So
and all of that is dictated by Game Freak, and they work to very tight deadlines to make sure that they've got new Pokemon ready for the new generation. So they've got very tight deadlines within a 3-year radius to prepare and get ready for TCG and merchandise. I mean, you've mentioned TCG being absolutely enormous. Merchandise, it's one of the, if not the most profitable companies in the world.
Oh yeah, definitely.
As a franchise through merchandise alone.
Definitely.
So you've got, I'm representing the company to represent, and that's why I'm very calculated with like the work that I've done previously. So yeah, there's a lot of responsibility involved in it, and it's really fun because like I kind of dig my head in like different areas of the community, and I know a lot of people throughout the community.
Let's go to screenshot.
Gotcha. Also, Solar, thank you for the $5. Again, bro, thank you so much. Oh god, the leaked Sinnoh Let's Go screenshots, were those real? What if the Sinnoh games were Let's Go games? Oh god, I hope not. No, I don't think that's the case, right? So I already mentioned this to Paul, and I mentioned this a bit earlier, but there were those kind of images that was shown, which I covered in the video, that kind of looked like similar to what we had with like the Let's Go, whenever the Let's Go leak happened. Like this kind of like very blurry image, showing something that looks like it could possibly be real, and some people might say it's not, or etc. And a lot of people were saying about this image of like Johto, and I think it was Snow Point, like the path towards, like the routes towards Snow Point, and it looked kind of like a chibi character of Dawn and all that, and people are like, no, it's fake, it's all that, blah, 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 and if it's real, it's BS because it's all chibi characters. But let's be honest, though, the only other proper remake we've had was Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, which was also in the chibi style, right? The only other remake beyond that was Let's Go, which was in chibi style.
Yeah.
So, in all fairness, there is a possibility, if we're going to be honest here, that the Gen 4 remakes might be that style as well.
See, I remember when that screenshot kind of appeared on certain websites, I won't say which ones, but it kind of materialized, and there was like all these whispers in the background that, oh, well, there's no validation to this. A lot of people, and I remember who they were, name for name, were like, no, it's not real, it's fake. We're not going back to a Kanto. They'd never do that on the Nintendo Switch. They'd start with Generation 8. And it's one of those things that I've learned not to comment. If you're not sure, just don't say anything, because otherwise you'll just get taped into this tug of war of what's real and what's not.
Yep. I mean, I'm already seeing like somebody in chat right now, your boy Matt saying, Let's Go is a one-off and have served their purpose. Well, that isn't really true, though. I don't know if you've noticed, but the Pokemon company's remaking a lot of stuff. You know, like, this year, I mean, think about it. This year, we had a remake this year, you know? Already. We had a remake this year. Like, we had, whatchamacallit, the Mystery Dungeon games, right? They were remade this year. And on top of that, we got the announcement there's going to be a Pokemon Snap game, right? Which is also essentially pretty much a remake, sort of, you know, like new Pokemon Snap.
Yeah.
So there is, you know, always a possibility of more stuff like that. Just because you think it was a one-off, that doesn't mean that that's the same thing that Game Freak or the Pokemon Company or Nintendo are thinking. Like, you know, like, just remember that always. That just because you see it a certain way, it's not the way they're looking at it. Like, they have a different plans and IDs and all that crap. So yeah, just remember that. There's always a different way they're looking at these sort of things.
I do think the lack of Generation 4 Pokemon that appear in Sword and Shield as well is also uncanny. I think that that's a very, like, I think that that's quite suspicious.
Who knows? Also, Anthony Alvarez, thank you for the $1 donation, bro. Appreciate it, man. Not sure if we talked about possible hint for Isle of Armor, but Urshifu needed the Vespiquen honey and had to look for the tree with Combi and honey. I could see the underground or the honey trees replaced with Dynamax raids. Honestly, a possibility. Though personally, I would not love it if they were to remove the underground. Honestly, like, this is my personal opinion. I was a big fan of that, so I hope they don't do that. But what you are saying, though, is true. There was the whole, like, you know, within the Isle of Armor, there was that whole, like, kind of event with the Vespiquen and all that, which also, again, very similar to Diamond and Pearl. So I think at this point, we can pretty much, I think, Paul, can you agree that, like, at this point, there's too many things that are directly pointing at Diamond and Pearl remakes, though? Like, there's too many things just pointing towards that being the case, right?
I think it's more obvious now than it was in build-up to Aurus. And we got a lot of hints in build-up to that.
Yeah.
And then we had the screenshot, the infamous screenshot of Groudon, well, the little cutscene of Groudon, which was, 10 seconds long, which I know people weren't too happy with.
Yep.
And it's kind of moved into meme status. But I honestly believe that that's what we're coming up to, and there are enough indications, both in-game and obviously on my side, to kind of advocate that idea.
I got you. Tony says, yeah, no, Oras used chibis just like X and Y to make the characters look more expressive in the world. The battle intro animations used normal-looking models. Gen 7 ditched the chibi overworld. But that's the thing, though. If they were to do Diamond Pro remakes, they could just have the similar type of deal. Like, literally just go for the same similar type of deal there. Again, who knows? I mean, we'll literally have to wait and see what happens next year, in all fairness, when it comes to stuff like that, because that's very specific speculations. I think, like, what we really need to look at right now is more just, like, you know, what's happening next year in broad spectrum. Like, what are we actually getting next year? Well, most likely right now, based on everything we've kind of talked about, it seems like the most likely thing is the Diamond and Pearl remakes. Just seems the most logical. Too many things are hinting that way. Something that was just mentioned in chat, by the way, also by Steelix. Gen 4 fossils were the only fossils not included as well, by the way. Yeah, that's true. Gen 1 fossils are there. Gen 3 fossils are there. Gen 4 fossils are not there. Gen 5 are. And, of course, there is, of course, the ones for Generation 6 as well. And, yeah, there's no Gen 4 ones. Everything else is there, but no Gen 4 fossils. So,
don't you find it weird? Because, like, there's literally dozens of examples of this. Like, we're not nitpicking. We're literally talking about dozens of examples.
Yeah.
Well,
like, there's so much of it. There's so much of it. Like, at this point, there's so much of it. There's even, like, a hint that I kind of, like, saw, which was about, like, like, there's an Arceus plate in like, you know, Sword and Shield. There's an Arceus plate, right? One of the plates for him. I think it's the fairy type one, but there's none of the other ones. But there's the fairy type one, which is the only one that didn't exist back in the day when those original games released, right? Which is kind of odd. Why is that the only one that exists in this game? It's kind of strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just really odd. It's just really, really odd. Yeah. Also, Jack, thank you for the $5. My hope for Diamond and Pearl are that they make the whole game open rather than the segment style of Gen 8 DLC being open. Might be a precursor to that style.
Of Gen 8 DLCs being open might be a precursor to that style.
I mean, what I hope they do, honestly, is kind of what we have in the Crown Tundra. Because I think what the Crown Tundra is kind of like what Pokemon should be, right? Where you are not locked down into, like, do this thing, follow this path, and do what you gotta do. The problem though with the remake is it has to be that way, right? So it can recreate that journey you originally had. Like a remake can't really take those creative liberties that you can do with a brand new generation and with like something like a DLC here, for example. What I'm more hoping about is that what they did with the Crown Tundra is what they do with all of Generation 9, Like that's what I'm hoping for there. I wish like in Generation 9 that we're possibly able to go to whatever gym we want to. That we're unlimited to go to. Oh, you got to go to this gym, then this gym, then this gym. But instead being able to just kind of like go haywire, because they were able to tell a story in the Crown Tundra. In my opinion, I could understand the story going on here without having to like make it a linear story. But it all kind of like concluded in the same place, right? It's just that you were more given the freedom of choosing what you wanted to do first. So I went for the Reggies first. I didn't bother doing the birds and the Calyrex quest. I just kind of skipped that main storyline and went and did whatever the hell I wanted, and which was to catch the Reggies. Which honestly,
that's what I did.
Yeah, exactly. It was just it's just fantastic. It's like the Crown Tundra, in my opinion, is what Pokemon needs to be. I think like those people who haven't played it really need to play it, and I think the people that like. That played will kind of understand like that there is still hope for Pokemon. I think what the Crown Tundra really reaffirmed to me that Pokemon isn't like fully lost fully lost its flair, because I kind of lost faith in Game Freak after a while. After Let's Go and kind of after the initial release of like Sword and Shield, I was kind of in a pretty bad feeling. I have pretty bad feelings about like the future of Pokemon. In all fairness, right? I was just really where they were going to go with it, but like. They're just making good choices. They're making good products now. I mean, the Crown Tundra, sure, it's a separate product. I wish it was part of Sword and Shield and I didn't have to pay an extra $30 for it, but I can't deny that it's a good product, though. Like, it is a good product. It's a well-produced product.
It enhances the games incredibly.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's better to do it that way than to pay, like, say, with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, where you're paying for new games over again.
Yeah.
I think that they've found a way to be a bit more clever about it and to upgrade the games so they feel like new games, but also where the maintained essence of Pokemon is kept. Like, I was scared with Sword and Shield because I thought, well, is it going to feel like a Pokemon game? It still feels like a Pokemon game. And I think with the first DLC, I didn't get that excitement that I felt with DLC 2. And like with the wild Kanto birds, I think that's such a cool feature to like chase Pokemon.
Oh yeah, dude, that was so awesome. That was so I don't like some people hate like chasing the legendaries, but I always thought it was such a cool thing. Like in the old games as well, but even those didn't even have a visual thing for them. Now we actually see them physically in the world. Like it's so cool.
Yeah, like them being in the overworld and being able to chase the legendary, it feels like an adventure, and it's not something that you have to visualize in your head. Because when you're a kid, like when we were all kids and we played Pokemon, we had to visualize it in our heads because they didn't have the graphics to kind of go with that.
They had no way to represent it, like in the actual video game. They couldn't represent what that would be like. We had to sort of imagine what it would be like.
Yeah, so I honestly think that. I think that the way that they visualized it and the way they got it across in Crown Tundra is so amazing, and it really justifies a lot of the decisions that I kind of opposed at the start. I do wish that the DLC was included in the actual game and that that was available on launch. I think people would have lost their minds. But
dude, I mean, I would have given the game like a 9 or 8 out of 10 at that point.
Exactly.
Like no joke. Like I would have given that because it just would have been great. Also, Wicked, thank you for subbing. It would have just made the games like so much better. I think the biggest issue here now is as just somebody messaged in chat is the DLC is expensive, and it really is when you think about it, right? Because you are paying quite a bit of money here to play this Pokemon game. Like to get a full experience, you're not like to really think about it like this, right? To have a complete Sword and Shield experience, you need to play the Crown Tundra. I feel like you cannot have a complete Sword and Shield experience, and that's the problem. You're paying $90 for that though. No matter what way you twist it, that's a lot of money. Like that's a lot of money to spend on a singular game. So I don't know. It's like it just doesn't give you a full, complete journey unless you buy DLC. Which when you combine it, it's a lot of money being spent.
But by the same argument, you could say that that's what you're paying for Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and
That's
You
fair,
get like
but I feel like with that though, it's different because you still did get a bit of a like like with Sun and Moon, you at least had like some sort of sure you didn't have the Rainbow Rocket episode and the Ultra Wormholes hunting, but you did have some semblance of a post game there, right?
yeah,
Like you still had that there. I think with Sun and Moon the problem was there was no semblance of a post game. It just didn't exist. There's nothing to do. You had
yeah,
like the one thing with like Shield Bird or
exactly.
whatever, and that was it. But there was like nothing else to do. I think that's where the problem really truly lies. Is that if there wasn't post game already in the Sword and Shield games that was substantial, and then the DLC on top of that, that's a different story. That's a totally different story. But the problem is that
that's a very valid point. That's a very valid point. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So, what's your hopes for Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Pearl remakes then for post game? Because
oh god,
I mean, there's Battle Frontier.
yeah.
And
So
other aspects that could be changed or mixed up.
So what I would want them to do, honestly, what I would want them to do is like number one, bring back the underground. Make sure you don't remove that because I love that feature.
Yeah, that's a great feature.
Yeah, and I want them to also improve upon it, right? So, like, for example, I remember you could, like, do a little bit of customizing in, like, back in the day in the Underground, but I want them to, like, bring that back and add more customization. Because I feel like now, with the advent of, like, how we have, like, how in the wild area you can see other players and stuff, and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Like, imagine now being, like, you like, just playing, with your friends, and making a base, and just having them actually show up in your base and all that sort of stuff. And do you remember there was, like, that capture the flag mode in the Underground?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
imagine the capture the flag mode, but actually with way better like looking graphics and all that, and like 3D models and all of it. Like that would be so much cooler. Just playing like capture the flag with your Pokemon and stuff. Like maybe like letting you choose like a Pokemon out of your party and just having that like run around the world or something, or just you as the character just literally running around and just playing capture the flag. Like just bring that back. That's my biggest thing is I want that back. And as for the Battle Frontier, yes. Definitely. My biggest fear is that they will not include the Battle Frontier and that they will not include where you get like Giratina. I always forget the name of it. The freaking oh god, the chat's gonna kill me for this. The different space it's within. I always forget its name. How do I forget its name now? God, help me here, Paul.
My mind's gone blank.
Where Giratina kind of lives.
I know which one. That was exclusive to Platinum.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. That's why I want to make sure that that's also there. Distortion World. Oh my god. Dude, all I could see in my head was like. All I could see in my mind was a Dynamax Adventure for some reason. I was just like, it's not what I'm thinking of. Why is that the only thing in my brain right now? Like, why is the only thing coming to mind? But yes, the Distortion World. Thank you. I want to make sure that comes back. Because I remember, like, I played only Platinum. I didn't actually play Diamond and Pearl when they initially came out. Because I got Platinum instead later, like, sometime later. But my siblings got, like, Diamond and Pearl, though. So I remember, like, playing through Platinum and being really surprised that they didn't have, the Distortion World. I was like, dude, this is so cool. So I want them to have that return because I feel like it's a quintessential part of the Gen 4 experience. Like the Distortion World was one of the most iconic things about Gen 4, I would say. Just how like weird it was, how different it was, how it felt and all that. Like it was just such a like if you look back, like Pokemon up until that point had been very like simple, right? It was a very simple franchise. Gen 1, oh wow, the most crazy thing that happens is catching some of the legendaries and Mewtwo in the cave, right? Ooh, boohoo, it's in the cave. Then you had like Gen 2, same thing, oh cool, it's World Islands or a big tower, whatever, same thing Gen 3, oh wow, they're volcano, whoop-de-doo, whatever. And then all of a sudden, Gen 4 was kind of where the shift happened, where we got this weird, like, space-altering, like, freaking devil representation Pokemon, and Arceus being literally God. Like, it was just such a different take on everything, and it was so unique and different at the time that I feel like without that being included in a remake, it wouldn't be a true remake.
From like, where we had the Game Boy Advance to the throw to the DS, and obviously with Platinum as well, it just felt like you were playing something completely different, but it still felt like Pokemon. It just felt like I remember the whole build-up, and it's so eerie because the music was so well put together for that game. in particular for for that whole generation. To be honest, the music for that whole piece and the build up to Cynthia as well is just incredible. I think that's why the thirst from the fans for a Gen 4 remake is so much, because of how well received the games were. So
yeah, for sure. I feel like following ones were added back just because Game Freak was tired of the request for it to return. They just half-heartedly gave it to us out of irritation. I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know what their decision making. Oh, geez, God, choices are. But I think it's more like, I think now that I've seen the Gen 8 beta leaks, I think what it more is about them just having to rush the games out, not having enough time to fully implement the feature, and then kind of realizing, well, we kind of wanted to implement this, but we didn't have time. Let's implement it now in the DLC when we do have time. I think that's more what happened there. I think that's what the case was. Because if you look at the beta files, you'll see that they already have had a lot of that established. I think they just simply did not have enough time to implement it, and they just decided, well, we're not going to be able to include this as a feature, so fuck it, let's not include it. Let's just wait until we get, the DLC, because they already knew back then that they were making the DLC. They know ahead of time what they're doing, and they knew they were going to be doing the DLC, so I think they just kind of decided, let's just, shift this over there, and let's just leave it there. You know what I mean? Like, we won't think much more beyond it than that. And then probably was a little bit poorly programmed, considering, how poorly some of the Pokemon will follow you and how slow they are. Yeah, it's kind of probably poorly programmed, but it is what it is. There's not much else I can say. I'm just happy they included it at all, to be honest. Like, I'm just happy it was at all included, because we could have been without it, so I'll take the fact that we got it.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely one of the features that should have been in the game from the start.
Yeah, because definitely. You rushed,
I think you hit the nail on the head perfectly. You go from having like a 7 out of 10 game to like an 8.5, like instantaneously, just by having like 2 or 3 features.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Pokemon doesn't require a lot, because I feel like, I don't know if you've seen, there was this like 4chan post, kind of about how like how Pokemon in itself is all just a grand illusion, which in reality, when you think about it, it really is. Pokemon as a franchise is just a grand illusion, because it is never really truly a great grand adventure. When you actually think down to it, when you sit back, take a look at Pokemon and compare it to any other RPG, right, that exists. Pokemon really isn't and wasn't really, but the reason, like back in the day, right, when Gen 1 came out, and Gen 2 and all that, they created this illusion to you as a child that you were going through this grand adventure, when in reality, you were just really going on a rails journey that's pretty much identical to anybody else's journey, right? You couldn't really change what you were doing or alter the path. You were just going on this exact same journey each time, right? Also, Jack, thank you for the $2. Do you think the dev for Diamond and Pearl started before Gen 8 or during? I'd say during. I'd probably argue during or about towards the end of Gen 8 development. I think they would have probably started Gen 4 development, but I'm unsure. But the point I was saying, though, and again, Jack, thank you for the $2, man. I appreciate it, man. But yeah, I think they definitely started right just about the time they were probably like finishing up Gen 8, they probably about then started working on that. Because with the leaks, we've seen that they probably started development of Generation 8 back in like 2017, I think. 2016, 2017, something like that. I'm not sure how far back the leaks go, though, but I think 2017 was the latest date they found. So, and it was really early 2017 as well, by the way. I think. I'm not 100% certain. Don't take my word for it.
If it's there, it's well in development. Like,
yeah.
Like, we might not know about it, but whatever they've got, they're in development on, at least in the later parts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, we don't know exactly when they finished even, Generation 8. So, like, they could have finished it back in, like, 2018, somewhere towards the end of 2018. And then just worked on the DLC throughout the rest of 2019 when they were just promoting, the game.
Yeah. I would agree with that kind of timescale. Yeah. You'd be looking for a company that size, especially with everything like you mentioned with the umbrella. Like for them to plan everything in accordance, they would need at least, I'd say, 12 months before launch of a major game.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
also, but Game Freak is a big company, you know. They have a lot of different teams now working on different stuff. So one team could have literally been working on Diamond and Pearl while another team was like finishing up the DLC and stuff like that. So anything's possible. Yeah. Also, somebody was mentioning, so back to the point I was trying to make is the Pokemon at the end of the day is really just a grand illusion, because in reality, you're following a set path that's always the same for you. You know, you can never really alter it too much. I mean, play through Fire Red, Leaf Green as many times as I have, and you realize what I'm talking about. It's really just the same thing. You know, it's the same thing over and over again, without really much of a change besides the Pokemon you choose. But even that's like a set limited amount that you know you can only really choose. You can only really get what's kind of like given to you there in those moments, right? Without altering the game, you can't really choose what Pokemon you're gonna have, because it's kind of forced that, guess what? Route 1 is always gonna have Rattata and Pidgey, right? That's what you're always gonna get. No matter what you do in the game, that's always gonna be a constant, right? Well, that's the difference though between that, like with Pokemon and other games, is that they've kind of changed over time and evolved to make like the world dynamic and things happening dynamic, whereas Pokemon never really changed the dynamic of of the world itself. It always kind of stayed the same, it never really changed. And they can't really keep up the illusion anymore, because nowadays, we expect things to look a certain way. We expect graphics to be up to par. We expect our games to, work in a certain way, because they do in every other franchise, and then Pokemon just hasn't caught up to that.
That's why I mentioned the legendary birds being the Galar forms of the legendary Kanto birds being seen in the overworld, because they know that they need to kind of incorporate these type of features.
Yes, sir.
For us to kind of look at them as an audience and think, wow, like this feels like an adventure now.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd say Generation 7, well, probably Generation 6 backwards, we always worked on our imagination when we played the games. Like we felt the experience. Whereas now, like you say, the expectations changed because of the graphical enhancements, and obviously technology is much better now. So we have this expectation, and rightfully as well. And it's a cultural issue as well, because every fan of every fan community in the world, whether it's Sonic the Hedgehog, Zelda, anything, you're going to go into that thinking, okay, I already know what I want from the games that are coming forward.
Yep.
And that's normally going to lead to disappointment, because ultimately you're never going to get everything that you want. And that's why Pokemon fans, feel critical towards Game Freak. But it is justified, because it's, to a degree, a bit lackluster. Like we've mentioned, features before not being made at the start of games, and you need DLC, or you need to buy the third enhanced version or the spin-off version or whatever. Like we've mentioned with Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and they can incorporate it as well, because like with Aurus, you had features from Emerald or references from Emerald, so they can incorporate a lot into one game. But I just feel that they're probably really tied from Nintendo, because they need to get everything out, like with the merch, with TCG, stuff like that. So yeah, it's a never-ending struggle.
But that's the thing, though. Like what you mentioned earlier about the birds really gets me like really intrigued about the future, though, right? Because it's them, it's them showing that they understand, right? That's what's important. They're finally showing that they understand. Okay, we can't make this just an illusion anymore. This needs to be an actual thing now, right? We can't just make you believe that there's a Pokemon that's running around the world and it's in the grass. No, we actually have to show you that Pokemon running in the world and make it more believable, right? Like we have to do that. That's the only way we can, like, we have to kind of remove the illusion aspect, because people are not going to accept that anymore. It's just not going to be acceptable anymore as a thing. We need to like move away from that and actually do these things within the games themselves and actually make it an actual reality, right?
But the prices of the games, the thing is that the criticism is justified, because you look at Call of Duty, you look at other games on the Xbox or the PlayStation 5, which is coming out next month. These are games that are the same price. So you're going to measure against what you're paying, like as a consumer or as a customer or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, as an example, what you're saying is 100% true. As an example, the new Call of Duty game that's coming out, right? Just looking at it, the base game itself, like, sure, Call of Duty is kind of the same thing. But if you actually just look at the new game coming out, you have, number one, the multiplayer mode, which has several modes within it, right, for you to play, which also has some brand new modes. You have the zombies mode, which is a totally separate one for you to play, and you also have the campaign, right? That's like three different things you can really do. Now, sure, Call of Duty's kind of kept that formula for a long time, but at the end of the day, it always delivers a lot of content, and they do make upgrades and changes and additions, and I know that they're doing additions and adding additions with, like, including, like, you being able to use brand new vehicles and etc, and all that sort of stuff. So the thing with Pokemon is that we've just kind of not really gotten that. So, like, it's just not as enough, like, value there in the pricing, like, there's not enough value for what you're paying, I guess, right?
I think that all comes down to perspective, because people will pay
for
people
Pokemon. Will value, but that's the thing. Fans will, like, fans of Pokemon, that's just the fans of anything, will buy anything, right? People will buy anything. So that's just something that's inevitable, no matter what it is. Like, like, Call of Duty can make the worst game ever, people will still buy it, right? Like, they can just do the worst thing ever. But I feel like it's more about, like, I'm thinking more of it, like, in a perspective way, right? That, like, what's the more appealing game to me personally would be the one that offers me more, more in return, right? Now, I'm a fan of Call of Duty. I actually do play the games a lot. So I can make this comparison and just be like, well, in terms of money, I get more out of Call of Duty. So if I had $60 to spend, only $60 to spend and nothing, no more money, I would probably buy Call of Duty instead of Pokemon. Why? Because I get more out of it, right? I'll get more gameplay out of it. I'll get more things out of it. I'll get more, more of a complete, like, thing out of it, because it is just more there. Whereas with Pokemon, I know that, like, if I've seen what the games are like and all that, I'll be like, okay, well, I'm probably not going to get enough out of this because I'll only be able to buy the base game. And I know that the post game is really cool, but guess what? The post game is in the DLC. So I can't really, I can't afford it because I only got that $60 to spend. So I feel like they like, if they just didn't include it as DLC and they'd done it as a part of the game, I think, like, the games would have been received 1,000,000 times better, like, so much better.
100%. I would go as far to say that you are not getting the fulfillment of the games without the DLC.
Yeah, it's not a complete journey. It's definitely not a complete journey if you don't have the DLC.
Yeah, I know some people are refusing to buy the DLC, but I've kind of counter-argued it by saying, well, you trying to justify it in the sense of you buying a third version to enhance the original versions. And it just little things like, chasing Zapdos around the original wild area. It's just so funny to me. And it just, like, little things like that really made it worth it. And I know it's quite a decent purchase. It's not a massive purchase, but, the DLC was, I would say it was worth its money, but I know other people would probably counter-argument that and say that it should have been there at the start of the game. It's really difficult to say. They were obviously working to tight deadlines, and my only fear with that is that I hope that they don't rush Diamond and Pearl remakes. Like,
well, that's the big worry. That's the big worry.
I would rather wait the extra year, but that's because I know how important the remakes will be to a lot of people. They were a real popular addition to the series, so I don't see why they would need to rush it. But
that's the thing that worries me. That's the thing that worries me, is that they will not do it well. That's what I was saying, though. Like, I really do hope that they don't remove the distortion world, the underground, right, and the battle frontier. Those are, like, some of the biggest things about those, like, that generation that really matter to, like, somebody like me who loves that generation. I mean, my favorite gen is, Gen 2 because of the Gen 2 remakes, but the fourth generation in itself is one of my favorite generations of all time, because it was just so almost perfect in terms of, like, Pokemon, in terms of Pokemon games, because it did so much right, and I'm worried. I'm really, really, really worried that, if they screw it up, it really could mean a lot of trouble for like, how people perceive the Pokemon going forward, like,
Yeah.
Because I feel like Sword and Shield were probably the biggest PR like problems they've ever had. I don't think like not counting like any sort of stuff that happened back in like the 90s or whatever, with like banned anime episodes. But if we look at like actual controversies and stuff, I feel like just the shit that was happening with like Sword and Shield was probably the biggest things we've ever seen. Like in like the last decade, I would argue, of Pokemon like controversies when it comes to the games themselves.
Yeah, I would say that's partially true. I think Gen 5 kind of mixed things up a bit, and I know upon launch some people were a bit distasteful towards like those games were unfairly criticised. I think.
Yeah, for sure.
There was a lot of justification, but I
feel
think
like
with the Dex cut and stuff like that, there was a lot of justified noise, and I think there was a lot of upset people. Like you say, when you talk about content and you're buying a game for $60 and it doesn't meet your expectations, the expectations for the next game lowers, and your likelihood to buy the next game, no matter what series it is, it's going to suffer. I just hope that they get it right, because I don't think that they can afford the games to be badly received.
Yeah, because it just hurts the brand's value at the end of the day, right? Like it's like because you look at all the other like Nintendo kind of franchise. I mean, I know Pokemon isn't fully owned by Nintendo; it's just partially, but like it's still a Nintendo franchise. I would argue, right? Because more people would say it's like a Nintendo game than people would say it's a Game Freak game. Because only really like the people that like you and me and the people watching the stream, only really us are only us as people are the ones who will know who truly makes Pokemon. The casual fan will not really care. They'll just say Nintendo makes it, right? Which is also why I've seen like Masuda-san being like really pissed off. Like he genuinely seems angry about it, or just annoyed at it at least, when people say like oh you work, oh like when he says like oh I work and make Pokemon games, like oh my god you work at Nintendo. He's like no Nintendo doesn't make Pokemon, Game Freak makes Pokemon. Oh, Game Freak makes Pokemon, like he gets annoyed at that. So like I can fully understand it, but most casual fans will just assume, oh, Nintendo makes it, so let's go with that, with that kind of logic. Now, for Nintendo's franchises, right? Zelda has not had any controversies, right? Nothing major that's been kind of like harming the brand. Mario, same thing. There's nothing has been there in recent time that's gonna hurt the brand in a big way, or any sort of game that was really 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 bad that it hurt kind of like the general perception of the rest of the the games within that area. I mean, not counting maybe like the latest Paper Mario game, but I feel like it's so small in scale that it doesn't really affect it. Like I feel like it's such a small thing that it just doesn't really matter that much. But I feel like with Pokemon, we have literally a brand new generation. It's like the biggest it possibly could be. Like like a new generation is the biggest thing you can get from a Pokemon game. You know what I mean? Like it's literally the biggest thing you can get. So it's the equivalent of like a Breath of the Wild game, for like the Zelda franchise.
Yeah. But with that as well, the knives come out because people are like, okay, what are the graphics like? How many Pokemon can I catch?
Yeah.
Like, what's the post game? It is normally the three major questions before anything is even breathed about a new generation of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Graphics, it's a strange one to me because I grew up in a time where graphics were not essential. They weren't a part of conversation for, oh, I'm looking forward to a new Pokemon game. Graphics is the last thing that you would talk about. Whereas now, the culture in you say the community itself, but also in gaming community in general, it's all about graphics, which I don't think is strictly fair, because I think if the story mode and the post game were really solid, and I mean really solid, that for me would overshadow the graphics content. But I'm a dinosaur, so like.
No, I fully understand what you mean. I fully understand what you mean, but it's actually more. It's like I know what you mean, and I fully understand it, because there is this kind of like new thing within like gaming, and I think it comes mostly from the new generation of like of people, and like the new generation of kids and stuff, that they just expect everything to constantly keep getting better and better and better in graphics. I mean, that's why we are getting like a new generation of consoles. In reality, when you think about it, is because they have to up the ante a bit, because people want that like newer and better and better and better, to the point where eventually just won't be able to upgrade any further. But that's kind of where Nintendo's just not had to like compete, because Nintendo doesn't really play into that. You know, Nintendo just kind of has its own little, you know, separate kind of, you know, thing going for it, where graphics are not important. It's more about gameplay, right? Which is also what I love about Nintendo. You know, like that's the thing that makes them so great.
They're a niche market, and they understand that they're a niche, and I like that. And I think Pokemon benefits from being under Nintendo's umbrella.
Oh yeah, for sure. Reason. I mean, dude, Pokemon would be butchered if it was on the PlayStation or anything like that. You know what I mean? It would literally be like, you know, like butchered if it was on there, because people would be like, what the fuck is this? Why does this look like something from like the, you know, from like 1995 or some shit? They'd just be reacting like that to it when they're used to seeing like graphics that, you know, are literally lifelike, you know, and like hyper realistic and stuff. So yeah, I feel like, you know, because I see it from a lot of the people that do, you know, buy PlayStations, Xboxes and all that. They expect things, and like a lot of these, like, you know, younger generation, they expect things to be like really crazy in graphics and all that, unless we're counting Fortnite, which is a little bit of an, you know, outlier because of its like cartoony graphics and, you know, like cartoon violence and all that. But so it's a bit of an outlier, I guess, with that. But what I'm trying to say is, like, you know, Pokemon doesn't really require itself to have like crazy graphics. So I think the reason people got so stuck up with the tree is because the argument they used as to why they didn't include the, you know, but you know, the tree or whatever, you know, like the N64 tree. You know, like I think the reason people got so stuck up with it was because, you know, the argument they used for why they cut the decks was to make better, like, you know, to improve the, you know, the games, like, what was the argument again? Like, I think they said like, just generally the graphics or whatever. I'm not sure if they use the graphics word specifically, but they just like improve the game in like generally speaking, right? The visuals. I think the visuals, something like that. And then people were like, wait a fucking minute, what are you talking about? To improve the visuals, but the game looks like ass. Like, I mean, look at these trees. How is this improved? You know, I think that's what happened there, is that if there was no cut Pokemon decks, I don't think the graphics would ever have been brought up, honestly. I don't think they would ever have been brought up. If the Dex was not cut, the graphics would never have been brought up, ever. Like, no joke.
Yeah, to a degree. But
I mean, like, in the scale they were, right? Like, I mean, there were people complaining about the graphics the moment Sword and Shield got revealed. I remember that. There were people complaining about that. But, like, I feel like if we're comparing, you know, like, people were going to complain about it. But, like, I think what, like, really broke the camel's back and what made it into the big controversy that it was, right? With the N64 tree, you know, like meme, was that, like, you know, hey, no full decks, because we're making it all look like the game look better. And then it's just like, what are you talking about? The game looks like shit. I mean, look at these trees. Look at this bird. Look at these mountains. Look at what the hell is this? You know, look at these stones. You know, people just kind of like saw that, were like, fuck you, animations, yeah, whatever. Like, I can't remember what they exactly said, but just remember them saying that, and then people were like, well, you're fucking lying. That's bullshit. You're not being real. I think that's what the issue was there, you know?
Yeah. I think some people can be really sincere about the graphics being the focal point, but it's difficult. Because it's a purely generational thing with Pokemon fans. Because I've played since the very beginning, I'm probably less fussed about graphics. I'm more along the lines of the story mode, and, you know, is it compelling play? I think Sword and Shield was compelling, and I really did enjoy the story, and that there were moments in Sword and Shield that I do really love, and the DLC definitely cements this as a really solid entry to the series. But I do see that the criticism that they've probably got over the time period, they probably will really, really push the boat out for general.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, somebody in chat saying like the animations were complete crap. I mean, listen, I'm not denying that. Like, dude, trust me, I agree. The game, like, I am someone who doesn't like, you know, like, I'll sometimes play games. Like, for example, I play certain games where I put the graphics to the lowest settings, right? Just because I prefer, like, performance over, you know, graphics. But with Pokemon, for me, you know, since it's like it's more like, I'm kind of similar to Paul here, because I enjoy the story and the journey and that sort of stuff way more, and like, I really enjoy like the kind of hidden parts of Pokemon, the secrets, the stuff that, you know, isn't really present at first and all that sort of stuff. That's kind of what I enjoy with the games. So personally, you know, the graphics, to me, I just feel like where they need to improve them, is really mostly within the battles and stuff like that. Because like yeah, animations in Pokemon are just kind of like for example the tail whip animation or anything, you know, like that for example, or like, you know, the double kick animation where it's just like literally just like statically moves up and down like, you know, a few times. Like yeah, that stuff needs improvement for sure. Like that's the way they need to invest a lot of their efforts. You know, like for sure.
But I mean, one of the most common things, which I agreed with, one of the common criticisms was that the region, the Galar region, although it looked vast and it looked beautiful,
Yeah, and then it'll be really small.
Yeah,
Yep.
it looked
Yeah.
really wide.
Oh, I hated that so much, dude. I hated that so much.
I think a lot of the pressure comes from when you see other game titles on the same system, like with Zelda. Like everything that you see in front of you,
you can go there. Yeah, it's that thing from like, if you remember No Man's Sky, when they said like, you see that planet, you can go there, right? And then you actually go there. It's like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. I think it's like, you know, we saw this giant map because I thought, bro, we could go all over the place, right? I thought when we saw that map of Galar, I was like, oh my god, I can go here, I can go here, this is huge, right? And then you play the game and you come to like Hammerlock and you can enter like 2 places, and it's just like, why is this giant castle here? What's the fucking point? Like, what is this? I can't do anything. Like, I literally couldn't do. You couldn't do anything there. It was just empty, purely like straight up empty.
I thought that things like, I don't know, like with Odyssey, for example, like there are secret areas like everywhere. Like you could fall and find something that you didn't know that exists. I mean, there's still elements to those games like Odyssey and Breath of the Wild that people have probably never found. That exist in that game. Whereas I don't think with Sword and Shield, you'll be playing that in 3 years' time and going, oh my god, I've only just found this out.
Yeah, well, definitely not. I mean, definitely not.
Pokemon games, they surprise you sometimes. I think in a few years' time, I think that these games will be more highly rated than they actually are currently being received. And that's happened with a couple of generations, but I think more so with this one, especially because of the DLC.
Yeah, I think the only thing that pushes these forward in my mind, to me at least, is the DLC like Crown Tundra. I think everything else to me, I would have left this at like a 5 out of 10 for me personally for the Galar games like Sword and Shield. That's where I would have put them, and that's where I did put them in terms of like my personal review. But
what about with DLC?
But with DLC, I mean, there's like, if I don't count the BS of it being a DLC, if I just count them as a part of the game, I think it puts it at like an 8 or a 9, honestly, like an 8 or a 9. Because it's like, and again, I'm rating it based on like I'm rating it as a Pokemon game and not as like a game that I can compare to other really like other RPGs and anything, right? Because I think you can't really compare Pokemon to other RPGs because it just doesn't achieve the same level of what other games do, and I don't think it ever will, honestly. I think it's just it's so set in stone as to what Pokemon is that it's hard for them to ever truly change it from what it really is, right?
Yeah.
Like it's always going to remain what it is, and you never really can expect them to go too far away or stray too far away from the base concept, right? Whereas other franchises do. Like, I mean, if you look at like Dragon Quest, which is so much different from what it was back in like the 90s, compared to now, it's such a big difference, such a vast difference. But that's because they are willing to change it,
It's difficult because the formula is what has made the brand successful.
Yeah. So changing it is like, it's the same as like, it's the same with everything, really, right? If you have something that works, why change something that works, Why change something that already sells and does well? There's no point in doing that. If people are going to buy it anyways, why do it at all? Like, why change it at all,
It's effectively a catch-22 because if they change it, they get criticized, which they did for Sun and Moon.
And if they don't change it, they also get criticized because they're not changing and they're not evolving.
They're in a no-win situation, and I think things with like let's say Gigantamax and Dynamax forms make it into Gen 4 remakes. People will be livid if, like, for example, like the nostalgia is messed with too much because the people that originally played those games will have an expectation going into playing those games, and that will draw bad conclusions. So like as you said with the previous argument about everybody jumped on the graphics board before anything was mentioned when Sword and Shield were revealed because of the announcement of Dex Cut. Exactly the same kind of thing will happen, but what you will have is you'll have an instance where something will be taken away from the games. Let's say Battle Frontier's not there, and everybody will probably jump on 4chan and other 4 boards and say, well, don't buy the game, it's trash, because, you know, and not give it a real fair chance if one element's missing that somebody doesn't approve of. And it's quite common on the internet as well now that if there's one element or one aspect that's negative, they'll post that and then it'll get shared, and these things.
I mean, it's just the kind of part of like how all that works now. Like, there's not much you know that can be done about that. It's just how, like, you know, how it's all kind of set up. Like, you can't really do much about it, you know. Like, people will take things and run with it. It just is what it is. But I think I'm about to, like, probably end the stream here, though. We've had actually a pretty decent, like, discussion. It's been about an hour and 40 minutes, and I need to sleep. It's like 1 in the morning right now. Yeah, it's like midnight for you, right?
Yeah. That's fine, mate. That's honestly, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, dude, thank you for coming on. And guys, I actually want to tell you guys right now. So Paul has, I mean, you said it. I mean, if you got time right tomorrow, you'd be willing to jump on again, right?
Yeah, of course.
Beautiful. So guys, if you wanna see Paul and me again on stream tomorrow, probably a little bit earlier than this, I would argue, because so because I'm really tired right now. You guys probably saw me yawning a few times because I'm just simply tired. Like, my brain is just kind of shutting off one step at a time right now. But yeah, if you guys want to see us, again tomorrow, a little bit earlier, live again, talking about these things, because I feel like there's more to say about Pokemon. And I always love talking to you, Paul, because like it is always an interesting, way to kind of see how, like, pick your brain and see how you think about certain things. Because there's a lot of stuff we agree on, but there's also stuff we don't agree on. It's kind of nice to have, like, kind of finding a middle ground and all of it,
Yeah, of course. No, it's great to talk to you, and obviously to get updates on how you feel about the games. And it's always fun to speculate, but it's good to have a vision as well of what to expect next year. Yep. And I do anticipate big things for Pokemon next year, so we've got plenty more to talk about. So.
Dude, I'm excited, man, because this year's been slow. I mean, the Crown Tundra was the highlight of this year for Pokemon, I would say.
Definitely.
But this year's been kind of slow for Pokemon, I would say. It's just been a lot of announcements about little like actual, like a lot of bread but very little meat, Like, it's been like that. So I'm hoping next year is when we're gonna finally get that meat, like that actual, like, big piece of, like, content and information and all that sort of stuff.
Definitely pick up again, definitely.
Yeah. Also, by the way, before we end, I really want to know about this, because I saw somebody mentioning it at the start of the stream, and I totally forgot to talk to you about this. But what about Pokemon Unite? What the hell is happening with that, by the way? I mean, do you want to talk about that tomorrow? I really want to hear what your thoughts are about that, because I am so torn on it.
We'll talk about that tomorrow. I mean, there's loads to really kind of talk about in the context of streams.
Yeah. And digest.
It's not just about Generation 4 and what we expect for next year. There's definitely, and Pokemon Home as well, what we expect for Pokemon Home with Go connectivity to mainline series as well.
Oh yeah, I actually got a few tweets about that. I'll bring everything out. I'll literally save everything and just we'll talk about it tomorrow night, probably for another stream. So yeah,
fantastic.
Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. If you guys want to check out, Paul, do you want me to send them to your channel? Because he's still going to be working on it.
My Twitter.
All right, guys. So, check out Paul's Twitter, guys. Go follow it. Let me see if I can just really quickly find. But yeah, go check out PokeShopper on Twitter. Go follow him, as he is your #1 source for Pokemon merchandise-related things and all things in that regard. So go over there, show my man some love, and I just want to thank you guys for coming through today. Thank you for the support, by the way, in like terms of subscribers, in terms of freaking donations, and all that sort of stuff, guys. Thank you so much. You've been fantastic. I'll catch you all tomorrow. Peace out and bye bye.